Hey everybody, Rusty here at Rusty Vintage Cards. I hope everyone is having an awesome Thanksgiving weekend. I have a couple of topics to share that are a little bit of a follow-up from a video I did a few weeks ago about managing hobby budgets. And in that video, I was asking, how do you manage your budget? And are there any tricks you use during savings mode? And the responses I got were really good. A lot of well thought out, smart responses. And I normally don't do this, but I thought it would be fitting to share a handful of those on this video. And sorry I can't share all of them, but there were a lot of great responses. And if you would like to go back and check out the others, that's great. But I will share a few of those. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on the financial side of the hobby. Most of what I'm sharing are cards. But I do feel like it is highly relevant. For me, it's something that I'm thinking about for every purchase I make. I'm thinking, how much money do I have to spend and how much money should I spend on this card, whatever card it may be. So although we don't talk about it all the time, it is something I think that's highly relevant. And I really got a lot out of the comments that you guys shared. So I'll share a handful of those and then I'll get into another topic that's kind of related. So to start off with, I'll give a little bit of a summary before I get into these. So some of you mentioned that you do manage a separate account for your hobby budget, which is similar to what I do. Some manage it as part of their annual household budget. Some manage it as a monthly budget. On the savings mode, some are focusing on small cards and projects like what I mentioned. Some are organizing their collection and spending more time appreciating the collection during those lean times. And some are selling cards that no longer excite them. All really good options there. So I will dive into a handful of these. And like I said, if you want to go back and check out the others, if this is something that interests you, feel free to do so. I will include that link on this video. All right, the first one I'll share is from Tony Talks Cards. Tony says, "Hey Rusty, great question. I'm overkill because of my profession and using spreadsheets a ton more than maybe others. We have a monthly family budget that goes out 12 months in the future, and there's a line and I can look at it and have a feel for how much I do have or don't want to spend on cards. I can also use it to forecast how much I can save up for big shows so I feel good about how the amount compares to other expenses that inevitably come up. I've gone over and been under, but try to look at it over the whole year when comparing to other spend." The second comment I'll share is from the Athlete Archives. "I have a monthly budget and I don't buy cards on budget credit. In other words, I don't spend money from future months. I just wait. It's hard, but it has helped me more than once because by the time I waited and had the money, I decided the card wasn't worth it to me. I'm not collecting unicorns. The cards I buy are pretty readily available. Hank Aaron, Jackie, K-Line. So there is really no immediate urgency." The next comment is from Collecting America's Pastime. "Great video. When I'm saving for a particular target, I will only deviate if something scarce comes up that can't easily be bought down the road, or if there's a deal on a card I need that can't be passed up. So many cards are more common than people realize, so breaking it down by what's truly difficult versus what's common is a great way to stay more disciplined." The last comment comes from Straight Race Cards. Matt breaks it down into two different categories. One is savings mode, the second is budgeting. For savings mode, A, look at current collection, figure out if there are any cards I'd be okay with parting with. B, work on non-cost projects like putting commons into binders, etc. C, find little ways to add money into card funds. One example is I will use a browser extension that saves money on purchases and gives my PayPal a small kickback every couple of months. It all adds up. Next, on to budgeting. I do the separate bank account and I also love spending time on my Google Sheet of my collection, tracking everything, making new want lists, etc. It's a fun project that takes a lot of time, especially when I'm not wanting to spend." So great comments. There's really a lot to unpack there. I'm not going to dive into each one of these, but I did want to share some of them just because I thought some of these comments were so helpful to me. And if they're helpful to me, I figure some of you may be able to get something out of them as well. And again, there are quite a few other good comments in my video as well. So next, I want to dive into the next topic, which is sharing a little bit about a couple of cards that I picked up over the last few months. And these were two cards that kind of ran the spectrum of paying on the high end of comps and paying on the low end of comps. So I'll turn this camera around and share a little bit more about that. All right, the first card I will share is the card that's on the high end of comps. That is this 1961 Post Ron Santo. This is the rookie year for Ron Santo, 1961. And this could be considered an alternate rookie for him, his traditional rookie being the 1961 Topps with the Rookie Cup. And I had on my my list of Hall of Fame players on my Hall of Fame run that I'm working on, I had on my list the 1961 Topps Ron Santo. But I thought I might pick this one up instead. And it's a nice looking copy. I started researching these, and so on the high end of comps, you know, this is a 1961 Post. These are not expensive cards. Set this down here. So you can typically pick up a 1961 Post card for as little as a few dollars. Even on the high end, maybe a couple of dozen dollars. So I was looking at everything on eBay that's available on eBay for this card, and I came across this one. It was listed for $60, which I thought was just extremely high. So I'm looking through the other cards and had this one on my watch list. And I took another serious look at it. I looked through comps on eBay, and I don't know if you guys use this, but under the selling function of eBay, there is a research tool you can use where you can see history for the last 3 years. So I used that, and I just compared the comps, sales over the last 3 years for raw versions of this card. The highest that I saw was $38. So I messaged, and that was actually a fairly recent sale. So I messaged this seller. I explained the highest sold price on eBay for a raw version that was not autographed within the last 3 years was $38. And I said it's a nice looking copy, and I could offer the same $38 if you're interested in that. My thinking is I'm just not going to overpay by that much. I'm not going to be the sucker for the highest card sold on eBay for the last 3 years. So I thought it's worth a shot. If he says no, fine. I don't have to buy it. So I get a response from this seller. He says he checked comps. There are, I'm assuming it's a guy, it could be a woman, I don't know. But there are no comps for this card. $38 mentioned is a perforated card. Cut cards with border visible around the entire card are much scarcer. Mine is the nicest listed. I can reduce by $5. Anything less, I'd rather just keep. So let's take a look at the border. And it does have a black border all the way around, and that is somewhat rare to find them in condition like that, which, by the way, let's look at the back. You can see it looks like, you know, cardboard, has some spots there on it, if I can get the camera to zoom. But it's pretty much a perfectly cut card. It does have a little bit of, you know, kind of looks like natural wear. Like this actually could have been cut in the 60s this way, or where it was just cut perfectly. And I just thought it was a nice looking copy. So I received that response, and I thought, well, I'll pass on that. You know, it's more than I want to spend, and on this card, it's just on the high end, and I really don't want to be that person, honestly. But I started digging around the comps a little bit more, and really he makes some. Again, I'm assuming it's a he. I shouldn't do that, but the seller makes valid points. The cards sold that were on the $38 range, those were perforated. And I believe if you look at the PSA comps, just using that as a gauge, I think they're actually more of the hand cuts than perforated. But finding one that is cut that clean is pretty scarce. So I'm looking through all of the hand cut raw cards on eBay, and really don't find anything quite like this one. So a couple of valid points there. So I sat on this information for about a day, and I'm thinking, you know, this is $18 more than I was already committed to paying for this card. And honestly, it's the card I wanted. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it, and call me crazy for paying that much for this card when it really doesn't sell for that much typically. But it's the card I wanted, and I needed to pay that much to get it. So and it's really not anything more than I would have paid if I was seeking out the 1961 Topps rookie of Ron Santo. All right, now for the other card. This is on the low end, and that is this 1968 Topps Rod Carew. And this is a card that I think it's a really clean copy. Try to avoid the glare there. It's SGC 5, good centering, great registration, nice color. Nice looking back. This was a card that comes up for auction quite a bit. And this was just a situation, this is a much shorter story. This is a situation where it comes up for auction a lot, and I found a version that I liked of this card, and it just happened to go for a low amount. It was lower than I expected. It was one of the low end sales for this card for an SGC 5 in quite a while. So at least one of the lowest. So this kind of ties to some of the comments that I was reading off from the budget, talking about scarcity and just knowing when you can get a card that is in maybe larger quantities available, when you can just be patient and get the card you want for the price you want. And that was really the situation with that Rod Carew. It ended up, the auction ended up ending for lower than what I expected it to. And I was great with that. The one on the left, it's the card I wanted, and I had to pay up a little bit to get it. So that is what I have to share with you guys today. I appreciate you watching. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you on the next one.